Hello, how are you going? It's Petra here. Thanks for joining me again. Really nice to see you. Well, not that I can see you, but nice to have the opportunity to chat with you. And so this is Petra Vintage Knitting, and I like vintage knitting, hence the name. And so when I say vintage, I primarily like knitting patterns from the 1930s to the 1950s and the 1980s. But I'm not much of a knitter other than sweaters, really. So I really just like knitting vintage sweaters. Actually, here in Australia, I call them jumpers and cardigans rather than sweaters. But hey, Ravelry and lots of people from different countries has infiltrated our lives, and now I talk about yarn in terms of sweaters and yardage and inches and things that I wouldn't normally use here in Australia. Right, so this is episode number 6 according to my notes, and I have a finished object as well. So, although I'm not wearing it, this item that I'm wearing is a just something that I designed myself. You can't really see the whole thing, so I can include a picture of it in here as well if you like. The yarn was from Stash, so I don't even know what the yarn was. It was just something that turned up. And I think actually I've been sitting in Stash for a really long time, and it might have been a gift, so I don't even know what it was. Well, at least that was the brown yarn, but the orange yarn was leftover stash of Manos del Uruguay Fino in, I don't know what the colorway was. It's literally stash yarn that had been sitting in there for like 10 years. So, but I really like that yarn. Anyway, so this week I just really wanted to get an episode out because I've done a little bit of purchasing, a lot of purchasing. I went a little bit crazy in the yarn store, and I wanted to kind of show you what I got and also explain why a bit as well, because I've been well, I might as well just get into it. So I've been really itching to knit colourwork this year, and I haven't really been knitting much colourwork other than the hat that I showed in, I think it was episode 2. And I just really wanted to do more colourwork, but I'm a very novice colourwork knitter. Don't know much about colourwork at all, other than that I really like the patterns, I really like the projects, and I wanted to make a colourwork jumper, which I've never knit before. So I had my first go at steeking in not that long ago, and just in a couple of episodes ago I talked about that a little bit. Steeking wasn't too bad, except a lot of the yarn that I've got available to me here in Australia is superwash merino. So Australia is a significant exporter of merino, although we don't process most of it here. I think a lot of it is processed in Italy. But most of what we have in our stores, I mean, look, it's probably not an Australia thing. It's probably an everywhere thing these days, just because merino is so soft. But most of what we have available in our shops is superwash merino. And even though in theory you can use superwash merino for colourwork, I wanted to knit in the round and steek. And I don't have a sewing machine. And I've been using needle felting as my steeking method in the only time that I steeked, and I really liked that as a method, and I want to be able to do that again. And I just don't feel confident about needle felt steeking something that's been superwash treated. So I wanted to get non-superwash yarn, and I wanted to get something a bit more rustic. Anyway, I'll show you that soon when we talk about acquisitions. But that's been on my mind for a little while. I keep staring at patterns for colourwork. I just love colourwork and couldn't wait to put some into practice. In the meantime, though, I've been really, really busy at work. It's just been mad. So I specialise in Google advertising, and in particular for retailers. And this time of year, retailers are really busy with their sales and getting things ready for Christmas. And so Google advertising's incredibly busy and hectic at this time of year. And so, and also I had a whole lot of new staff too. And so really I just wanted a project that I could zone out and not do much at all, like not do any kind of thinking. And I just wanted to be in the round. And not many vintage patterns are designed in the round. They're all kind of, they tend to be knit bottom up, flat, and in pieces. So that's the typical design. And I didn't even want a purl. I just wanted knit stitch around and around in circles. And if you've been following me, you would see I've actually been also knitting a sock around in circles that doesn't have a heel. But that's turned out a little bit disappointing because, well, first of all, I don't like knitting socks. I literally just did it because I wanted something around in circles. Well, and also because I thought that my kids would like a sock. Or two socks, perhaps, not just one sock. But no, it hasn't worked out because even though it's supposed to be stretchy when it's in a spiral, sorry for everyone who's new, I'll get it in a minute. Even though it's supposed to be stretchy when it's in a spiral, it turns out that it hasn't been stretchy enough with the needle size that I used, and even though it should stretch quite a bit, it hasn't been stretching. I do have a finished object. So essentially what I did was I cast on a jumper, and I decided I was going to do it in the round, so I converted it into a in the round pattern, and you can't really see it. I'll show a picture, but essentially it's using my leftover superwash merino because I've just got loads of superwash merino, and it's from a 1940s pattern in a book which I can't remember the title of. It was I want to call it, it's either the Complete Guide to Modern Knitting and Crochet, or it's the Modern Guide to, no, it's got the word complete in there. I think it's the Complete Guide to Modern Knitting and Crochet, and I believe it was from 1948. And something that really appealed to me about this particular pattern was that it uses, what is it, 5 different colors? Six different colors, because there's 5 different colors of stripes, and then the 6th color goes into the like tiny stripes between them. And I have all these balls of superwash merino Rowan fine wool yarn that's discontinued, that I can't buy any more of it because it's discontinued, but I had bought it ages ago planning to use it for colourwork before I found out that superwash merino is not great for colourwork. And then I chickened out because I didn't want to try and steek something that was superwash merino. And at the same time, they got eaten by moths because it'd been sitting in my stash for such a long time, and then we had a moth infestation. I said the story last time. And so, so it's been sitting around for ages and ages, and I found this pattern and thought that would be fantastic for it. And it was really successful. I was really happy. And the other thing as well about it was because I just wanted something that was going to go around and around in circles and not have to think, I decided that I wasn't going to do it flat. I was going to do it in the round, and I successfully converted the flat pattern into the round, including the sleeves. Which turned out to be really exciting. I was absolutely stoked because normally it takes me ages to complete anything, but I was on a bit of a mission and I just needed to zone out, so I knit this in 3 weeks, which for me is quite good because I only really knit in the evenings and I've got family time on the weekends, so I don't spend like all day knitting on the weekends either. So the way that I did it was I started at the bottom and started ending in the round up until the armpits. And at the point where you get to the armpits, normally in any bottom-up flat pieced pattern with set-in sleeves, you would then cast off a certain number of stitches. So in this case, I had to cast off, I want to say 5 stitches. It might have been 5, it might have been 7, but we'll just say 5. We had to cast off 5 stitches at the beginning of the round, and then you and also at the end of the round for basically each side. So if you imagine that it was flat, you would cast off 5 stitches on each side, which would have been the beginning of each side when you do it flat. But when you do it in the round, you can cast off 5, find out where the middle is of your round, which is going to be the other side, and then cast off 10 stitches there. But the trick is you actually in the middle of that want to join on your sleeves. So I cast on provisionally the number of stitches on the sleeve at the point just before you cast off the sides for the sleeves as well. So if you have a look at any sleeve pattern for a 1940s jumper, you'll see that most of the time it does the same kind of thing, where you cast off say 5 or 7 or whatever it is stitches both sides of the beginning of the sleeve cap, and then you start to decrease from there according to whatever the shaping is. And usually in most patterns, and certainly in this one, you cast off the same number of stitches on the sleeve as what you're casting off on the body. And so those cast offs actually line up with each other if you put them together when you're sewing up. So my plan was, and I was hoping this would work because I hadn't read about it anywhere else, but my plan was that I would cast off 5 stitches from the front of the jumper, then have my provisional cast on for the sleeve. I would cast off 5 stitches from that. I'd already knit 1 row, and then join the sleeve to the body, cast off the next 5 stitches for the sleeve at the end of that, join that to the like the back of the body, cast off 5 stitches from there. And then what happened was all the cast off stitches kind of fold in on themselves. They all kind of fold in, because you end up with the remaining body stitches butting up alongside the sleeve stitches, and then when you knit the next row, all of that is all in a circle, and everything that had been cast off starts to point in towards the project. Now unfortunately I can't really show you because I've already completed this, but let me see if I can show you on the inside of the garment. No, not really. But essentially, to close up, so I ended up with 2 holes there, and to close that up I had to just do a very small seam at the bottom of the armpit. So I ended up with a figure 8 because I had 2 lots of cast off stitches on each side, and so that was like 4 lots of 5 cast off stitches. They all kind of joined in the middle, they all kind of caved in on each other and made a figure 8, and then I was able to go around the round. Now the next thing that happens when you knit on a flat pattern is, once you have cast off those 5 stitches for the underarm, you then decrease for a certain number of stitches. And I checked the pattern, and this particular pattern had you decrease every, I want to say every second row for a certain number of rows. I can't remember exactly how many it was. And the sleeve has you cast off every second row for a few more rows than you did for the body. So what I was able to do then is I was able to cast off the sleeve and the body at the same time, and then continue from there. And then when I get to the part where I'm only decreasing on the sleeve, then I was able to resume with that. Okay, so I don't know if I picked the right stitch pattern for the decreases or not, because it is a little bit visible, but I ended up just doing a double decrease in the area where both the sleeve and the body were being decreased at the same time. So you can see that here there's essentially, so it is quite visible, you can see the decreases along there. And then once it gets to the point where it's only being decreased on the sleeve and not on the body anymore, then I switched over to a like left leaning and right leaning decrease depending on which sleeve it was. So you can see a line along here where that was done. Now I could have chosen to do a purl instead, and that might have been a bit less obvious, but as it turns out it doesn't look too bad when it's worn, because it actually kind of gives the impression that the body just kind of stops there and then it turns into the sleeve. So it's actually not so bad at all, and I've mirrored it, so I've got right leaning and left leaning depending on the side. Yeah, so then I just basically knit the body and sleeves together from that point until I got to the very top of the sleeve cap, and then I cast off the top, like the shoulder of the sleeve cap, and so that's right at the top here. Basically I cast it off right at the top, and from there I continued another inch or so knitting flat. So this white stripe right at the very top was actually knit flat. Everything else was knit in the round, and I just needed enough flat knitting to get to the point where I could seam up the shoulder. So it's not the most neat seaming, but I don't think anyone really notices. So essentially, so the white, I mean, yeah, it's not perfect, it looks a little bit slightly wonky, but the white was knit flat and everything else was knit in the round. And then I started to decrease for the shoulders, and then this neckline is the original neckline. It's a boat neck. It looks pretty horrible until you wash the garment. I was a bit worried that I'd hate it, but it's actually not too bad. It yeah, I'm not sure if I would do that again, because essentially the back of the neck and the front are exactly the same. It's a really simple pattern, this one. But essentially, once I got to that neckline, I just picked up and went in the round again, and I knit in the round, and the pattern tells you to knit, they say half an inch, I think, or a quarter of an inch, and then tack it on the inside. So if I show you my inside, that blue is where I changed to the next colour, and essentially I've just sewn it down, like folded over, so it's not really that visible on the outside. So yeah, I wouldn't knit this with a stiff fabric, because this neckline is really, like, literally it just cuts across your neck, and it feels like, until I wash it, like I said, I felt really stiff. It didn't feel nice to have that there on your throat, but because the superwash merino does have quite a bit of drape, after I washed it and it loosened up, the that neckline softened up as well, and then it was fine. So I knit this on a 3.5mm needle, which is what the pattern said, and it is, I was going to say 130, but no, it's 120 stitches around, and I added additional height as well. So as well as adding, I added an extra, probably about 5 centimeters in the body, but then I also decreased a bit more on the shoulders in order to add extra height on the shoulders, and that way I was able to increase the height of the armscye area as well. And it turned out a perfect fit, so I was really, really happy with the finished product, and it will definitely be getting a lot of use, although it's a bit cold still at the moment, which is strange for mid-December, but that's how it goes. Sometimes you just get weather. And on the topic of weather, we had a bit of a weather event at our place, and we have gum trees on our property, and we had 5 tons of gum tree fall over in our yard, crashing our fence and crashing, well, I say crashing, but it was concrete, but basically landing on our driveway, exactly where the car had been 10 minutes previous. So my husband had a early dentist appointment, and he got in the car. There was a bit of a storm blowing, but storms happen. He didn't hear any creaking of the tree or anything like that. Got in the car, drove off. 10 minutes later, the tree fell right where the car would have been, and yeah, it would have crashed the car. So just horrible to even think about. But no, so everyone was safe. But yeah, the fence is completely destroyed, so I had to get insurance. But what happened as well as it destroying the fence, at the same time that happened, it fell down with so much force that it pulled on it landed on the electricity cable for the street, and it did so with so much force that the electricity pole holding up all of the electricity for the street got pulled from the ground and was unable to be put back in again because it actually sheared it in half at the ground level and ripped our neighbours' electricity out of their wall. Luckily that didn't happen on our electricity, but we all lost electricity because we didn't, the electricity pole had fallen down, and we had live electricity wires on the road. So the electrical company had to come and disconnect all our electricity, and then it took ages to get a new electricity pole installed. So essentially we were without power for a couple of days. Yeah, it was a bit of drama. And then I needed to take some photos for the insurance, and went out. A police person actually turned up to escort everyone to let them know that they couldn't walk on the road. And he escorted me to a part where I could stand on the road to take some insurance photos. And so I did that with him, went back inside, and then 5 minutes later, a huge branch fell out of the tree, landed right where we were standing on the police car. I mean, we were standing next to the police car. It landed on the police car and gave everyone a terrible fight, but the police person was okay. I was back inside. So yeah, it was just a bizarre week. And actually, as it turned out as well, so it took a couple of days before it could be mulched because they blocked off the entire street. No one could get in or out of the street. Finally, the tree removal service was able to come in and cut up the tree and mulch it. And they said it was 5 tons. They went to leave the property and then they broke their clutch. So 5 tons of mulch had to be parked outside our place for the night while they had to get the truck towed. So eventful all round. But anyway, that's past now. We've got temporary fencing, and the insurance is starting to resolve the issue. But yeah, that's weather for you. Anyway, so that was a successful project. The fit is really, really good. I'm really happy with it. And so I now am really enthusiastic about knitting things in the round because I like knitting vintage, and vintage patterns are pretty much always flat, and I've never really knit much in the round before. So I want to knit more things in the round because it was so quick, and there's so many projects that I want to make, and the thought of being able to make things twice as fast is really exciting because that just opens up so many possibilities. But what I'm thinking for my next one is I'd like to do steeking, like I said before, instead of the like this way that I came up with for doing it in the round is perfect for superwash merino, and I will definitely use this strategy again. The next time I'm going to try decreasing using purl stitches and see how that compares to using knit stitches. But I also want to try steeking, and I don't want to steek superwash merino. So I think I'll just talk about my acquisitions now because we've led into it. But I decided I was going to buy either some Shetland wool, Norwegian wool, some Australian wool if I could find some that wasn't superwash merino. I just wanted something that was going to be woolly and feltable, but come in nice colours and was going to be the right weight. I still wanted it to be 4-ply because I typically knit 4-ply. And in the end, what I settled on was Shetland wool because Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight is obtainable in a local store of mine. I looked around at lots of different options and looked at shipping. I tried, one of the first places I looked at was Ravelry in Norway. And I just tested basically putting one ball of wool into a cart and then seeing how much the shipping was. And for my one ball of wool from Ravelry, it was going to cost me $115 in shipping. So I thought, oh, maybe not, because the shipping price is only going to go up from there. A few other places in UK were going to be between $50 and $60 for shipping for the first ball. I could probably get some cheaper shipping from USA, but I didn't really know what yarn to buy from there. I have since heard that the Cascade 220 fingering yarn is a good choice for vintage knitters. I believe that one's feltable. But what I ended up settling on anyway was Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight from the yarn trader here in Adelaide. And I'd never been into the store before. I have enough stash yarn that I haven't needed to buy any yarn for a while, though that said I've still been buying yarn. But yeah, I might have got a little bit carried away because she said to me that they were low on stock and they were going to get more colours in, and I just decided to get like one of every colour that they had in stock because I wanted to see how the different yarns combined with each other. So I ended up getting quite a bit. So I'll just show you some of what I've got. In addition to the 2-ply jumper weight, I also got some of the what's it called? Shetland Supreme jumper weight, which is the dye-free version. So the 2-ply jumper weight has dye, and so it's been a little bit more processed. And then the Supreme jumper weight is just the natural colours of Shetland wool, and it comes in a whole range of different colours. They sort them before spinning them, and essentially they combine the same colour of fleece together and then turn it into a individual wool. So I got one of every colour, which is maybe not the most sensible thing to do, but I figured that I can use them all in a Fair Isle kind of project anyway. So this one here is 2007. They all come in numbers. So that's number 2007. I actually already started using this one here, 2008 in a project, which I haven't shown you yet, but I already started using that one. So I went back and bought more anyway, because one ball wasn't enough. Alright, that's actually not, there's a couple of balls here that are not the Supreme. There might have been other colours actually that I didn't buy because, like I said, they only had a certain amount of stock, but I just bought one of everything that was in the shop. This one's 2004. Some of them have names, but some of them don't. So actually the one that I'm using had a name, but it's not printed on here now. Strange. Okay. I don't know how I knew that it had a name. Alright, so the ones that are the Supreme, they come in 50 gram balls. So this one's number 2003. And it's quite a bit, that one's a bit bluer, I guess. Can you see? So I went with the brown, like the creamier, browner brown, rather than the bluer brown in my project. And this one was a contender as well, 2002. That one was also really nice. But, yep, I already started with 2008. And in addition to that, I got a whole lot of the jumper weight, which comes in 25 gram balls, because 25 grams, you need a lot of balls, right? So, let me just, sorry about all the plastic. I got quite a few different things here. So this one is 81 charcoal, 21 navy, although they call it a navy, but to me that's not really a navy. I would consider that more of a royal blue. Like, I think navy's darker than that. This is 82 mix, but it's essentially a bottle green. Some of them are heathered and some of them are not. 43 bright maroon. Do you call it maroon or maroon? I don't know. I'm calling it maroon today, but probably pick and choose based on my mood. Alright, this is 121 mix, so that's a heathered one as well. I really like the heathered ones. They're gorgeous. Right, number 2, grey brown. This is just called shade 53. They haven't even attempted to describe what that is. I guess you'd call that like a apricot. Got some more of the green. I did get a couple of bowls of some. 28 old gold. Like I said, I got a lot of yarn. Shade 32 is that one. I really like that. It's kind of a, I guess, a copper colour. FC 45 sand. Oh, I got 2 of that one. And 125 copper, which I really like that one. I'm definitely going to use this soon. But I didn't use it for my current project. Alright, that's like one bag. Well, actually I've gone through 2 bags when I count the Supreme. But I've still got more. There is still more, folks. I got 78 mix, which is a really warm brown. I really like this brown. I think this colour will suit me. Here's another ball of Shetland Supreme that ended up in my other bag. This is 2005, and that is the natural black, but actually it's, cover my face, it's actually a dark brown, but that's as black as you can get in terms of the natural dye of Shetland wool. And incidentally, I don't know if you can see that, but can you see there's like some stuff in there? This yarn's actually quite unprocessed, so sometimes you find bits of grass and things in it, which you get to pick out as you know. Now this colour ended up being my absolute favourite, and I bought a whole lot of it, quite a few balls, because they're only 25 gram balls, so I bought a stack of them, and it's this like amazing purple, which reminds me of our jacaranda trees that we have in November. And so my plan is to knit a Christmas jumper that is actually based on jacarandas, because that's what we have at our Christmas here in Adelaide. Anyway, it's called FC9 Mix, and it's a heathered one, and it's actually kind of a heathered between that light purple with a bit of green in it, like a bluish green. It's just, or maybe you'd call it a grey, like a steel blue grey rather than a green, but it's absolutely beautiful. I love it. This one here as well is another Heather FC34 mix. I'm using this one in my current project. Oh, another Shetland Supreme one. This is 2001, and that's the widest that you can get. So it's not been bleached, so it's a bit of a creamy white. Okay, I'm nearing the bottom now because the rest of my bag is all just that purple. I ended up buying 10 balls of the purple, but this is another mix, so another heathered one, and it's 72 mix, and I love it. There we go. Sorry, it keeps wanting to focus on my face, but yeah, I love this one. It's a, yeah, I guess a combination of two different tones of pink, but one of the tones is a bit grayed off. And I have one more, which I'm actually in the middle of using. So I have to see if I can find the ball band. Oh, here we go. So this one's number 27 grey, and that's a real blue grey. So yeah, I'm using that on my new project. And I now have a complete mess of balls of wool all surrounding me. It is nuts. There's just wool everywhere now. But yes, I've had to stick all of this in my cupboard, and I'm a bit excited. So what I have been doing is, and I posted this on Facebook, that I was hoping to do a little bit of a joint project if anyone else wanted to join me. And so I converted, if I can find the pattern, I charted out this pattern here for Dundee. What's the focus on me? So I've charted that out into an actual image file as a graph using Invisio Knits. And sorry, everything's everywhere. This is all scrunched now because it's been in my project bag. But essentially, I've converted the entire pattern into one, like, well, I've done the front and the back and the sleeves all separately, but the front and back are the same at this point in time. And what I'll probably end up doing is I'm not going to exactly follow the pattern for the back, because the back has you do a slit all the way down the back in the middle and then put buttons there, but that I'm doing it in the round, and so I'll probably end up putting buttons on the shoulder instead. But yeah, I love the way the Japanese do their pattern books, where they actually chart out huge sections of the pattern all at once, because I just find I just work from this. I don't work from any text at all, and I just follow like this pattern. And so I just find a piece of paper ends up helping me out, and I just stick it in my bag, and that's why it's all creased and crumpled. But once I get to the sleeves, I'll print that one out as well. And so I've actually saved this as an SVG file, and I just need to work out how I'm going to make, like, I've zipped them all up and I've made a few of them. So I've made one which is the original pattern, one which is a re-gauged pattern. So I changed the gauge to 28 stitches per inch, which is normal for 4-ply, and will be fine for this pattern. because the colourwork's at the top. So as long as you don't knit the colourwork too tight, then you should be able to achieve a gauge of 28 stitches per 10 centimetres or 4 inches. And so that actually changes it to a 36 to 37 inch bust. And then I've created a third one which adds additional height as well, because I find that vintage patterns are always too short for me. So I'm going with the one that's re-gauged to be wider and also has additional height. And yeah, so I've just converted all those into SVG files so that they can be printed out. Alright, so enough of me talking about it. Let me show you what I've been working on. So, actually, I'll just show you this again. Can you see that in the body here? Sorry, one second. There we go. Can you see that in the body it looks kind of bumpy? It's actually pearl stitches in all the colourwork. So it just goes alternating bands of pearl stitch colourwork and ribbing all the way up before you get to the actual part that you'd kind of considered like fair isle colourwork. But they also call this Swedish colourwork for some reason, but not in this pattern. This is a Scottish pattern book, but I've heard it also being known as Swedish Australian knitting. Alright, so the colours that I ended up picking were the pink, the blue, oh, it's not blue, it's the grey. So the pink, the grey, the natural, and this teal. So those are the colours that I'm using. The teal will be at the top, and I'm part of the way through the body, so that's where I'm up to on there. Essentially I've been doing it in the round, and yeah, the texture of Shetland wool is a bit different from the texture of the superwash merinos that I normally use. I don't find it to be as stretchy, so it feels quite ropey, and sometimes it can be a bit stiff, like my fingers hurt a little bit when working on it, so I might have to mix it up a bit between this and working on other things, but I'm sure my fingers will get used to it over time anyway. Right, so that's what I've been working on, and I'm just looking down at this huge pile of wool around me. 1 minute while I put some of this away. Okay, so I have done a little bit of work on my deep V cardigan that I've shown you in the past, but it's not enough work to worry about showing it to you again, given that this one's already quite a long episode. But I did receive a beautiful gift from a knitting friend this week, and I just wanted to show you the lovely gift that I received from her. So she is a crocheter. She uses crochet cotton. I don't crochet at all, but she made these beautiful little doilies for me. They are so precious. I think this one's the correct side because it's actually protruding a bit. It is so beautiful. I'm just beyond amazed. I thought that these were going to be big things, and then when I saw them they were so tiny, and I was like, oh wow, they're just amazing. So they're so precious. I think that I actually want to frame them and put them on the wall. So that's one of them, and here's another one. I'm not sure which is the correct side, but I think I just want to frame it and pop it on the wall. It's just beautiful. So that's those. And oh, and she also sent me a little Christmas decoration. So a little crochet star. So that's going straight onto the tree. I don't know what's the correct way. They're both about the same. She sent me this project bag. I'm guessing that it's handmade, so that's just beautiful. I'm going to use that straight away. It's really lovely. It's got it's lined with pockets on the inside as well, so really, really practical. And it's got a drawstring so that you don't get zips caught on your knitting. And she sent me a copy of Elizabeth Zimmerman's Knitting Almanac, and I've never actually read anything by Elizabeth Zimmerman, so I can't wait to read this. I'm really looking forward to it. And I've got some more yarn. This one's gift, so it doesn't count, but I'm not entirely sure what to do with this one. So I got this yarn, and it says it's from Made in England, Pearsall's Fibrone knitting wood pulp yarn for sports coats, caps, etc. So can anyone please explain to me what a sports coat is and how wood pulp yarn is used for them, because I have no idea and I wouldn't know how to get another one of this, so I'm guessing it would have to be a hat. But I don't typically knit with non-wool fibres, so I don't really know anything about how this will work. Alright. Well, I think that's essentially it from me, and as much as I want to talk to you about for now. So I'm making good progress on that Dundee pattern, and I'm planning to steek that one, so I'm hoping that we'll have some progress on that soon, and I'll be able to show you the steeking process. And yeah, I think that's the end. So have a wonderful day, whatever you're doing. Enjoy your knitting, and I hope to hear from you soon. Really enjoying the community and comments, so thank you so much. I don't have anything that I'm planning to sell or try to sell on here. It's really just a social thing for me, so really nice to hear from you all, and I'll catch you again later. Bye. Alright, we're going for a walk to the playground.
You just walk then. My mum's going on every children thing I go on.